Hey everybody, it's 6 p.m. It's time for Market Monday. This is Blair Nightingale, your host with Tradeway, here live on YouTube and Facebook, wherever you're joining us from tonight. Glad to have you guys on here. Market Monday is an opportunity for you and I to get together. If you've never been on here yet, we're going to go over something that's going to help you as a trader. That is what we do around here at Tradeway. We help build traders. I was actually just having a conversation with a friend of mine before I ever even started with Tradeway. They started in 2015. It's amazing to just see where they've come from then until now, all because they went to a little old Step 1 event from Tradeway back in 2015 in Sacramento. So, I think it's important from time to time to just say so many of the people who are part of this Tradeway community, who are advanced traders, they come from a place where they didn't know any of this kind of stuff. I'm one of those people, right? We just started out. So many of the team members here on the staff team with Tradeway started out knowing almost nothing in many cases about the stock market. So we're just going on a journey together. That's what Market Monday is all about. I get to spend a little time with you. You get to spend a little time with me, and I help you with something that I hope really blesses you and yours in the pursuit of breakthrough in your finances. All right. We all have different goals, different why we like to call it. But we understand that breakthrough in trading is a huge, huge opportunity. So I want to help you do that. If you're joining me here tonight, go ahead, drop your name in the comments. Let me know you're here. If you're a first-time person, right, a first-time viewer, go ahead and say hi in the comments. Drop that in there for me. I'd love to hear from you. Of course, all of our friends out there, I'd love to hear from you no matter whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. It's a pleasure to have you guys. If you're watching on recording, of course, shout out to you guys as well. Today, something we have never talked about on Market Monday. It's a question I get, okay? It's a question I get about trading because I've even talked about this in recent weeks. Trading as a business. Now, that can be kind of intimidating for some of us. Maybe not some of us, but some of us, again, I just mentioned, we're starting this new financial journey. We've maybe never heard any of this stuff before, okay? Or Market Monday is how you're starting to get acquainted. You say, well, I'm not really a business owner. In fact, I've said that on the last few broadcasts. But you can start an at-home stock trading business, right? What is a business? It's where you perform a function of value and you make money, right? That's the goal. That is the potential of our stock trading business. So, Susan, I see you there. Susan says, not a first-time viewer. Susan's with us a lot. So no worries on that, Susan. I'm glad you said hi. Having a at-home stock trading business, okay, then leads to a question, and this is the question I get. Blair, should I start a real business? Set up an entity, we call it, right? A business structure, okay? So for those of us who are unfamiliar with that, it might be what we call an LLC, right? There are multiple kinds. C Corps, S Corps, right? Corporations. You say, I thought corporations were only these really big companies, on Wall Street and corporate America. No, not necessarily, right? People start companies all the time. So could we start a stock trading company? Well, we're going to talk today, make it very simple, very clear for you what the process of what that looks like for traders. And here's the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing, okay? What's the benefit to you, right? Susan's dropping her name in the comments. What's the benefit for Susan and Susan's family? Wherever you are today, what's the benefit for you? That's what we want to look at when we're looking at these entities, okay? And there's a few things we need to understand. Now, the title of today's episode, hey, do I need an entity like a LLC, etc., right? So let me back off and just define that a little bit differently just to start us out, okay? Because I don't think we're going to say we need or don't need to have one. It's more helpful for us to say, when and how could it be an advantage to me and my family? How could it be an advantage to my trading? That's what we want to look at. What are the advantages and when is a good time to look at those advantages for me? That's what we want, right? What are those advantages? And when is a good time to look at those advantages for me? Okay, so now that said, I've said this on here before. Tradeway, I have a securities license, securities like stocks and options, something we talk about all the time. I am not licensed to give tax advice, okay? So I'm not giving tax advice specifically, but we can talk about the tax code, which is just a fancy way of saying we can talk about the ways that you and I have to do taxes because we're a trader, right? If we're going to be a trader, we're going to try and make some money. That's the potential of this. That's the goal. If we make money, we have to pay taxes, right? So it's part of the conversation. And that's going to take us into the entity discussion today. But we don't give professional tax advice. So before we're done today, I'm going to tell you about some friends we have that help with this sort of thing, right? This is what they do, and it's who we trust. So we can come to that later in today's broadcast. But for now, I'm just going to say that up front, okay? So we're getting back to what is going to benefit you. Mario, I just want to say hi. I can see you there from San Antonio. We've got a nice crowd on tonight. Happy to see everybody on here. If you have any questions as we go along, please, as always, drop those in the comment box. So what can benefit you? Well, a couple of things. We have to understand the tax code. Now you say, whew, that's complicated. It's extremely complicated. But here is the most, I think, important and simple understanding that you and I need to have when it comes to the very complicated tax code in the United States. Tax code meaning, what do I have to pay and why, right? How much do I owe and why? If you make money, you got to pay taxes, right? Now, you can make money as an individual. You can make money as a business. And that's really the dividing line. There are two major divisions in the tax code. You're making money as an individual, making money as a business. If you make money as an individual, then there are certain rules. If you make money as a business, then there are other rules. It's not that the rules never overlap at all, but there are some major differences. And for you and I, it's helpful to understand those differences, okay? So tax code, split in half. As a trader, I mentioned already, you're going to aim, right? The purpose of our stock trading is to be making money. So if I put $10,000 in a stock trading account, right? And at the end of the year, I've made $5,000, right? Simple numbers. You say, I put in 5,000 and I made 2,500. I put in 400 and I took out 200, right? Whatever numbers that you'd be starting your business with, okay? Let's say you made money in it and you took that out. So at the end of the year, back to the 10,000, you put in 10, you made 5, you had 15, and you took 5 out, right? Instead of just spending the $10,000, right? We have the potential to put money in and make money. Now, we could lose money, right? There's no guarantee we can go both ways. That's why we need a skill set to navigate that. But if you took that $5,000 out, then that is income, right? As soon as it's out of that account, that is income. And when you open a brokerage account, okay, you've either done this already or you're planning to do this. That means you had to give them what? Your tax ID number, which is our social security number. So that when that broker, right, that brokerage account, whoever it is, when they allow you to take a distribution or a withdrawal is the word I'm looking for, a withdrawal out of your account, that's a payment. And if at the end of the year it was positive and you took money out of that account, you're now going to have to pay tax on that as an individual, right? So whatever your income bracket is, just like every year, you're going to pay tax at that bracket. Okay. Now, if your trading pushes you up into another bracket, then that's something we'll have to account for. And your broker will send you all the paperwork and information that you need on this at the end of the year, right? That's part of their job. They do that and they send it to you. Like your job, if you're employed, a W-2, whatever the case might be, at the end of the year, some 1099, different things like that, depending on your employment, they're going to send you the forms you need from them based on what they paid you to file your personal taxes. Your broker is going to do the same thing. Okay. I see your question there, Dennis. I'm going to circle back around on that. It's a great question. So your broker is going to do the same thing. Okay. Now, what's on the business side of that? Remember I said basic distinction, personal tax, business tax. Why is there even a distinction? Well, there's many, many answers to that, and we don't want to get complicated. So what we need to look at today is that on the business side, there's some basic things that could benefit you as a stock trading business owner. You say, well, what would those be? I'm going to tell you really about two today. Start with the first one. The first one is that you get the potential to have write-offs for your business expenses. Okay. Now I understand for some of you business owners, this is pretty basic stuff. Okay. But this is something that can be available in your stock trading as well. And for many of us, this isn't something that we've ever had to go over before. So think about it. If you are stock trading and you are paying expenses, you have expenses as a business, what kind of expenses might you have? Okay. Now, again, I'm not necessarily giving tax advice here, right? In fact, I'm not giving tax advice, but I know there are some expenses related to that business. You may have some subscriptions, right? Maybe you're actively paying Tradeway to train you to be a better stock trader, right? Maybe you have some equipment that's exclusively for stock trading. Maybe you have some online subscriptions to, say, Telechart or charting software, right? Maybe you have CNBC Pro, things like of that nature that are specifically tied to that, but mostly that educational cost, right? Whatever it is, there's the potential to start looking at write-offs, which means that $5,000 that I made, if it had a business, that business needs to be properly set up. Everything needs to be done correctly. We'll talk about that. But that would actually mean that instead of having $5,000 of taxable income, that wasn't all income because you had business expenses. What if you had $2,500 worth of business expenses that year, right? This is just an example. Well, then the taxable income for that company, generally speaking, right, this is very basic, would be $2,500. $2,500. Okay. You say, Blair, does it get more nuanced than that? Well, yeah, it does. That's why you work with a tax professional, because we can't just write off everything. There's a specific way we need to do it. There's some things we need to know. And that's why we have professionals that help us do that. But the concept, right, is very real. This is how business tax, generally speaking, works. It gives us the ability to fund. It gives us the ability to grow. It gives us the ability to invest in the stock trading business and be able to retain some of that money so that we don't get hit paying for our business to invest in it and pay tax on everything, even though we had expenses. Because under your personal tax, you don't have those advantages. And that is something that I have to clarify and say for a lot of individuals that ask about this. We cannot write off anything and everything. We can't do that anyway. But in our personal taxes, there are simply not provisions for you and I to just be writing off anything. Now, I'm going to come right to the limit of what I'm willing to comment on today, because again, when I get into the taxes too deeply, this is an area that I leave to other licensed professionals to do. But the number of what we call sole proprietorships, which is a way that a lot of people think, well, I'll just start a sole proprietorship. Well, that is, I'll just say this, the number one structure that is scrutinized in the United States by the IRS for what? Audits. Audits, okay? Because they're often not done correctly, appropriately. So we need to have the right people show us how to do the right thing. So do I need to have an entity? Well, we covered that. What if I want to, based on some advantage? You say, Blair, I have some expenses. Okay, that's number one. My stock trading business has some expenses. Okay, but what else do I need to see? And this is something I cover with folks a lot as well. I want to have some income. Okay, now let me add a couple things to that. There are some things, if you are just starting the business and you're investing in your training, maybe you're making a larger investment in your training and setup in the beginning. You say, well, can I capture those expenses? There is provision in the tax code under certain circumstances. Okay, certain circumstances. So that's something that a professional can teach you, really just lead you through. They'll do it for you. And that's what they've done for me. Where in those circumstances, you have a window of time, right? You have so many months where after you've made a purchase, you can still capture that as a business expense. So somebody might say, I'm not making any money yet, but it's an appropriate time for me to start an entity because I expect to make money by this point, and I want to make sure I capture that right off, okay? That could be a huge thing. Jay, you have a minimum deduction. If you don't go over that, write-offs don't mean anything. I'm not sure, but in Florida, I think. Yeah, okay. So there's a couple of great comments there. So let me circle back around on those. So, and I think Jay, even to your comment, Jay's giving some details here. This is where we get into an area where things can become, they need to be set up for where you are. So I used to live in California, and now I'm in Texas. So some of the friends we have that help Tradeway students with this, they need to understand, well, okay, if you're watching today from Ohio, right, what do you need to do in Ohio, right? What do you need to do in Florida? What do you need to do in California? It's not all the same, okay? So I can't comment on all the intricacies of that, but I can tell you that we just need to have somebody who understands how to do that, okay? But I hope you're getting the picture, right? If I have a business, then I have some options. Now, if I'm just looking at doing this under my personal trading, right? And I'm just starting out, let's say I'm actually not making any money yet, right? I'm not making any money yet. It's going to cost me some money to set up an entity, right? It's not free to set up. There's some legal process that has to occur. So that would be a cost, okay? There's bookkeeping costs, okay? General costs that come with a business, right? Maybe you want to do that yourself. I know I don't, right? That's not something I do. I want somebody else doing that. There are renewal fees each year, right? There are things that come along with it. So sometimes it just doesn't make sense to have it yet. What's important here is that you discover what works for you. But I can tell you that at some point in the journey, if you've got your stock trading business, you're making money in that business, it's just going under your own personal taxes, then that's a great time to ask a professional, hey, what would this look like for me? Now, I mentioned a few different kinds of business entities, right? Now, we're not going to go into the different structures of each one of them tonight. I think that's beyond where we need to go. But it's definitely a place for a professional to find what fits for you, okay? So the number one thing, the first thing is that an entity in my business can, right? It can actually help me save money. It can help me invest in my business. And that is the basis of it. That's really the heart of the matter, is so that you're able to invest in your business, right? That we're cultivating business in the United States that we're able to do these kinds of things because there are some advantages to it, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is a lot of why some people really are interested in looking at entities, businesses, because some of those entities, right, some of the ways you can set up a business provide not just a tax advantage potentially, but security, what we call asset protection. Asset protection. You put $10,000 in a trading account, let's say theoretically, right? And over a certain period of time, you grow it, right? You grow it to $30,000. And you're trading out of that account and you're living on that account, or you're reaching whatever goal it is that you have. Somebody in the family gets in a car accident, gets sued, right? I know being negative sounds terrible. Happens all the time. Happens all the time. I don't have data for you tonight on how many times the average a person will be sued in their lifetime, right? In the United States, pretty high. Now, there's other scenarios that could play out here, but let's just say that's what happened. You've got your trading account under your personal assets. It's actually how you're making a living, let's say, in this scenario. Well, those assets are vulnerable. Those assets are vulnerable. Anything you own, right? Any asset you have, if there's a judgment that goes against you and you're required to pay, then those assets could be seized. There are ways that entities can provide structure and, I was going to say limitation, isolation between you and the business. It's a separate entity, okay? So there is asset protection potential in a lot of these as well. And that's two things that we ought to really pay attention to. You know, I listened to somebody speak. This was, my goodness, it's Monday. This was on Friday. He talked about the 4 walls of wealth protection. 4 walls of wealth protection. And the basic principle was he was teaching people in God's kingdom how to produce wealth. And he felt like him and one of the other business partners he had got in this conversation and said, you know what? We're teaching folks how to build wealth in the kingdom. But as we're doing that, we're not setting them up to be successful if the enemy tries to take it. Right? We're teaching them how to build it. We're teaching them how to get it, but we're not teaching them how to keep it. We're not teaching them how to protect it. Right? And there are multiple ways to do that. But what I'm talking about is one doorway into that area. Right? Because I can tell you right now, on the level, legal, how we are supposed to do it, there are ways in our system that the wealthy know, okay, I've made this, I've set this up, I got to protect it. Right? I got to protect it. So that is massive, massive. Tax advantages, right? That potential is in there. And asset protection. Both of those are huge benefits. Huge benefits. Now, the next thing is that we've got to look at when is it right? Now, I mentioned already. Here's one question. Okay? Is it producing income? If tax advantages are our biggest thing, right? Is it producing income? Because sometimes, you know, we could say, well, let's go through the process of setting this up, getting these things in place, spending the cost, and I'm not making any money yet, right? And I'm not projecting to make money in my stock trading until X, Y, whatever time, right? Some people move fast. Some people move slower. Jeffrey Nance says all the time, if you thought it was going to happen in a year and it happens in 2, are you going to be upset? If you thought it was going to happen in 4 and it happens in 5, are you going to be upset? And sometimes he'll even say, if you thought it was going to happen in 5 and it happens in 9, are you going to be upset? Because if it happens, if you reach your goals, if you persevere and press through, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. But if that's the goal, right, and that tax advantage is what's on our mind as I'm saying this, then we got to know, hey, when's the right time for me? Okay. So our friend, I've mentioned this a few times, Prime Corporate Services, okay? PCS, Prime Corporate Services. They help all of our people over here at Tradeway, right? Unless somebody already has somebody that they know, they trust, they value, who can do this for them and understands what needs to be done in their area, and specifically understands what this looks like for stock trading. It's important that it's not just somebody who understands what an S Corp, C Corp, LLC, and so on is, right? It needs to be somebody who truly understands traders. Traders. That's very important, okay? Under the tax code, there is something called trader status. Sometimes this will come up. Trader status. And it's actually quite ridiculous what is required to get trader status. This would mean you get trader status and you're not necessarily under a business structure that has the primary purpose of trading and investing. It's almost impossible to get, almost completely impossible to get. You have to execute an unbelievably large amount of trades. You could Google this, right? You could Google this right now, trader status. Very, very, very few people. In fact, I've personally never met anybody who's tried to get it and actually was able to get it. So what they do is they go this way. Prime Corporate Services can help you with that. Asset protection, if that's on your mind, that's your goal. And for some of you today, you say, maybe we already have some investments. We want to look at how do we protect that, right? This isn't an individual retirement account, right? Something different, but you want to look at how to protect that. Maybe you own some real estate. That's not Tradeway's playground, if you will. But we know that our students out there have multiple needs. Some of you guys have significant property assets. And you also are looking to trade, right? So this is how you can really diversify, where we're not only looking at one stream, we're looking at multiple streams. And we're not just looking at multiple streams of income, we're looking at multiple layers of protection. So we're getting into a more holistic financial health, right? We're definitely looking at what's the energy coming out, what's the output if you think of the physical health, but then what's going in, right? Financial health works the same way. We want to protect it, we want to preserve it, we want to grow it, we want to promote it. And these are some of the important ways that people who understand how these work do it. And you know what's cool? This is how I've always felt. I started tonight talking about this friend of mine who started in 2015 and has just grown so tremendously. And not just in trading, but grown in understanding how to have a holistic financial health, right? I was in the ministry for years, and I would never trade that time. I mean, to be totally honest, I feel like we're all in the ministry all the time. When are we not in the ministry? But you know what I mean, right? I was actually on the mission field, and this is just not something I was taught. It's not something that was valued. And so I value both of those pieces coming together now, where this is actually a part of the kingdom, right? Stewarding our resources. You can decide with God what you want to go after and don't want to go after, but stewarding our resources well, that's something we're commanded to do, right? Troy says, I'm going to study on asset protection to know more about this subject. Thanks, Blair. And thank you, Troy. What I wanted to say to that is that we don't need to understand everything, right? I was talking about this friend of mine. We don't need to understand everything. I'm speaking to you guys tonight out there. You don't need to know how to do all this stuff. That's Tradeway's mission. We break down the confusing world of finance. That's our job. That's what we do. That's what we hope to provide for you guys as a service. Now, Dennis says, does Tradeway take care of taxes in the AMPed program. So the AMPed program is for students here at Tradeway who are investing long-term, right? We're not just trading. I've talked about that on here a lot. Trading short-term, investing long-term. So Dennis, obviously you're going to have an account with Interactive Brokers because of the AMPed program. And through your account with Interactive Brokers, they're going to be able to get you those documents. And then, of course, any further questions you have on that, anybody else here who's in the AMPed program, you can always reach out to the customer support there at AMPed, and they'll take care of that for you. But you do have an account with a broker, and it's the broker's job to get you the information that you need on that. Okay. Jay is saying you have a minimum deduction on expenses. If you don't go over that, write-offs don't mean anything. I'm not sure, but in Florida, I think it's, I think you said 11,000. Okay. So just saying you have to have a certain amount of expenses in that state or you can't use it. And I'm not sure if that's specifically just a state, not federal. So it's different in every state. I've lived places where that was not the case. Okay. So it's different for everybody. But the main point is that at some point in the trading journey, this is something that can really help us, right? Whether it's that asset protection, it's the benefit of write-offs, right? That potential, or it's both, right? And there are some other things too. I think those are the two main things tonight that I wanted to cover, okay? I see Roxanne's sad face in there. Roxanne, let me know what you're thinking out there. I'd love to comment on that for you. And Katie Huber's on with us tonight. I see that. So, you know what I thought was so cool? I'm going to close out tonight with this. This journey for me, you guys, and this is something I want to say to this specific topic and this specific group tonight. You know, this really is about understanding how to be financially healthy. And I say this, not just entities, right? But the whole Tradeway community is driven. There's a piece of it that is, hey, we are traders and we focus on the stock market. That's the bread and butter. That is what we do. But I tell you what, man, I say it all the time. And my good friend, Dave Huber, actually, I just said Katie Huber's on here tonight. You know, we like to say, if you want to kill giants, you got to hang out with giant killers, right? If you want to kill giants, hang out with some giant killers. If you want to go to the promised land, don't hang out with the 10 who think they're grasshoppers. You ought to hang out with Caleb. You ought to hang out with Joshua. And who did Joshua hang out with all the time? Moses. When Moses would go in the tent of meeting, he'd just stand outside. Now, he wanted to be near God, no doubt, right? The presence of God. But he was around Moses. It's no wonder he was shaped up the way he was. And God chose him. God chose him. What am I saying? I'm saying there's something here where if you're joining me tonight and you're giving 35 minutes of your Monday night to join us here on Market Monday, no doubt you have some goals. You have some financial goals, some things. You may have some problems. Let's be real. And you want to fix them. You need to fix them, right? You have some desires and goals, and you want to reach them, right? You're not the type of person who's waiting for something to happen. You're going, what options do I have? What options do I have? This is who we are. This is what we do here at Tradeway. We help people do this. So I mentioned Prime Corporate Services. For anybody on here, you can easily go. I unfortunately, actually, you know what, guys? I can post a link tonight. Sometimes it won't let me do that. I am actually going to post 2 links for you guys right now. One is for those interested. I'm posting a link to Prime Corp Services in there. You just let them know you're from Tradeway. We also have some things that, sorry guys, let me do that. We also have some things coming up. For those of you out there, I've talked the last few weeks, okay? on, trying to get this for you guys. If you've been joining us on Market Monday now for a little while and you haven't started trading yet, if you head on over to Tradeway.com, you'll see that step one, start your journey. I talked to a couple this morning and they said, Blair, we understand that you have some things to kind of get us started in the beginning, right? To show us the basic structure. How do I even begin to trade? Some of us are intimidated by it. It's brand new. Some of us aren't at all. Wherever you're at, step one is a great place to start. But they said, we know we're hungry for more, right? They were in the free 5-day challenge we did last month. They said, we know we're hungry for more. What do we do? One of the things we talked about, boot camp, okay? Boot camp. And I'm going to pop that in there right now. We've got a 5-day trading boot camp. You say, Blair, boot camp? I don't know anything about trading yet, or I don't know much about trading yet. Perfect, because this is going to be boot camp basic training, okay? We are going to jump in and teach you over 5 days, okay? It's going to be a bigger class size. We're going to have an intensive 5-day intensive where we're teaching our stock trading approach to you and yours, okay? It's going to be an intensive. I'm going to say that. So for those of you who are saying, you know what? It's time. It's time for me to make a decision. For 5 days with us, you're going to meet every one of the Tradeway coaches. This is a very minimal expense for 5 days of financial training. When I say financial training, I mean we're going to teach you how to trade in the stock market, okay? And we pack these things in. It's 5 full days. It's 5 full days. So that is the link I just posted in there, okay? I should back up. It's 4 days. It's not 5 full days. It's Monday through Thursday, but it is full days, okay? We're going to talk about setting up the trading account. We're going to be doing real-time trading sessions. We're going to be doing assignments, things like that, right? So you have a lot to get from us in that. If you've not started yet, massive action. Decide today, hey, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to do it. It's low risk. Gives you the chance to dive in there, start a new beginning. I've been saying this to a lot of people lately. If you want to get somewhere, you got to go somewhere. You want to get somewhere, you got to go somewhere. We can't stay where we are and end up in a place that's different. So this is an awesome opportunity for you guys to do that. So go ahead and click that link, join up, come on, get into that boot camp, get yourself started and see the Tradeway difference. See the difference. See the values we have, see the expertise we have, and see the attention that we give to our students, because we're going to pour out in these 4 days. And we're going to help you understand what you need to do. Wouldn't it be cool if you knew what to do? See, a lot of the fear for us comes from, we feel like, I want to get to a space that you're talking about, Blair, but I'm so unfamiliar with what to do that I'm intimidated by it. Well, come on in, learn what you need to do so you're not intimidated. If you're afraid, do it afraid, right? If you knew me better, you'd know that I try to live by that. I'm doing things I'm afraid of all the time, right? Because it breaks us through. And I get passionate at this point because I want us to be moving forward. Out with the old, in with the new. And for some of you guys out there tonight, this is that step for you. So go ahead, click on that link. Go ahead, join us in there, and let us prove to you the difference. Let us prove to you the difference, because I promise you that is exactly what we'll be aiming to do in those 4 days. You'll see myself as well as, like I said, the other coaches on there as well. So it won't be totally unfamiliar if you haven't met anybody else. I will be on there as well, actually every day. I'll be welcoming you and doing some sessions, and then our other coaches will be on there as well. And you'll be pleased to meet them if you haven't already, because they know what they're doing and they love our students. They really honestly do. So this is the exciting opportunity, trading. I've posted that Prime Corporate Services link in there as well for anybody. If you have any questions about that, of course, you can always email support@tradeway.com. That is how you can reach us, support@tradeway.com. Ask any questions. You can ask for me by name, say Market Monday. I'm really interested in this. And then tradeway.com for anything else. Thank you guys so much for being on here tonight, spending 39 minutes with me. Time is precious. Time is precious. So I'm really honored that you would spend that time with me tonight. We are back on Thursday, 4:30 on Thursday, Central Standard Time, 4:30 this Thursday. We're going to be on. We switched that time slot. So that's where we're going to be Thursday. And we will see you guys then. Thank you so much